there.
You ready?
Yep, ready to go. You good?
I'm good.
All right. Welcome back to the Awakened Avoidant. This is episode 37. Today we bring to you another deposit on a journey towards generational health. Today we have mentor, father, coach, pastor, Mr. Keith Garland, Sr.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in.
Sean.
I appreciate you
man.
so much. I just reached out to you. Well, we were connected via your nephew.
That's
was
right.
the connection, and I just reached out and just put a shot up and hope
go.
hope to get a response. And you showed up for
go.
me. I appreciate you so much. How you been? How you doing?
Good, man. Everything's real good. Getting through the summer. Couple weeks left of that. Busy did the vacation thing, did the kid thing, so work thing.
Yeah.
And we just ready to get back in it and do what we do.
Yeah. You were saying, do you mind speaking on what you do for work? You were saying prior to.
So I'm kind of the familiar term is jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm not a master of anything. I do a lot of things. So, in addition to the things you mentioned, I've been an associate pastor. I do that. My wife and I run our own nonprofit, No More Excuses Ministries, which we started when we were pastoring at a church in North Philadelphia. We minister to inner city youth, a number of different things, everything from educational pursuits to mentoring. As you said, we do our track team through that as well. In addition to that, for the last 33, almost 34 years, I've been a manager of litigation paralegals at a large law firm, Ballard Spar, in Philadelphia. So I've done that. And then I coach, right? I coach our team, which I made mention of, and then have played and still play, not so much in a technical standpoint, but certainly in an emotional and spiritual sense, with my son Kyle, who is an Olympic level athlete in track and field.
Yeah. I wanted to say that Mr. Garland here is, you want Keith, Mr. Garland?
Keith.
I feel all right, Keith. I'm just like, want to be all formal about it.
No.
Is the father of standout athlete Kyle Garland, who has achieved so much. Yeah. It would be impossible for me to even read all his accolades. I was looking through it the other day. I was like, I don't think I know another human being that has achieved as much as he's achieved. Like,
yeah, he's been doing it
it's long.
Time. It's funny when you talk about my son Kyle. It used to maybe 6-7 years ago when he was coming through high school, the high school ranks, and he was starting to get national and even international recognition for some of his exploits. I kind of wouldn't talk about him much, because everybody's kid is great, right? You know, hey, Sean, your son. So you tell me, man, my son played ball, he scored. So I would say stuff about Kyle, and kind of like, and then you would go into, hey, he's done this. So I kind of like laid back for a while, but after he made his first world team, and after he made his second world team, and after he got his own Wikipedia page, and after he set some collegiate records, I just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
It's what it is. Once you start talking about him and if you don't believe me, Google him.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did.
You don't believe me? Oh, your kid's this. Okay, Google him.
No, he's definitely him.
He's done a great job, man. Track and field, specifically the decathlon, which he has been doing since he was 13 years old. That's his passion. That's his heart. And while I won't totally concur with what you said about other people having accomplished what he has, I don't know anybody that's more dedicated to his craft than what this guy is. And I think that's across every sport. I mean, this guy lives, breathes, eats what he does, and it's paid benefits for him. Had a little setback this year, but we have no doubt, zero doubt, that he'll come back from that and achieve even more.
Yeah, and what he does, the decathlon is what his specialty.
Decathlon is an event in track and field. It is, in my opinion, it's the creme de la creme of track and field, right? It's the one event that encompasses everything. The decathlon is 10 events over 2 days. You do 10 different events over 2 days. And as was the case in this Olympics, when you win the decathlon, because of the strenuous nature of the event and because of the breadth of the events that it entails, you win the decathlon, you're monikered the greatest athlete in the world.
Okay.
Right. So you do 10 events over 2 days, 5 on first day, 100-meter, long jump, shot put, high jump, 400-meter, come back on day 2 and do the 110 meters, the discus, the pole vault, the javelin, and end it with a 1500-meter. You finish all that, you beat 24, 25 of the other greatest athletes in the world. Yeah, you deserve to be called the greatest athlete
Yeah.
in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's where he is. That's what he's done. He was in college, did phenomenally well at the University of Georgia, set a couple collegiate records, almost 2 years ago, almost broke a world record, literally by a second, missed, the points that he needed by a second. But he's done well and is doing well. And in that circle, you can't mention Kyle Garland and somebody in that circle not know who he is.
Yeah, he's done better than well for sure. Like I said,
yeah.
just looking at his
Yeah.
list of accomplishments, I'm like, this is interesting. When you just start to read it, it's large and long. You could be reading for a long time if you
done a
sit
lot.
down and try to find it. So yeah, congratulations to him.
Thanks, yeah.
And yourself for being behind him and supporting him. And I wanted to ask, as far as, well, actually, let me make a statement here. I think, let me speak for myself.
Okay.
Me personally, when I see, you, a man, black man, father, I think a lot of us, let me go back to myself again, me, I think that for a long time in my life, probably wished or had assumed, based on my athletic ability, if I had that support system, that I had, could have gone farther. And then at some point you let go of that because you realize, I'm accountable for a lot of my own
Right.
shortcomings and how far.
Right.
But I do think that it does play a part, in the direction of a child's life, whether they have the support of their father. So, just congratulations to you. And, I appreciate you for just being that representative of a black father that's there for his son, for our community.
So I'm old enough to be your dad, right? Okay, so whatever. Contemporaries that I talk to say about their athletic careers and even their professional careers coming up, say almost verbatim what you just said. Hey, if I had my dad, what could I have been? That kind of is a familiar refrain from so many brothers, right? Particularly in my era, different times, dads didn't stay around for whatever reason. But like you said, you come to a point, hey, you're a man, you become an adult, you gotta figure it out yourself. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. But the role I've played for all my children, as a dad, I've done school, I've done work, I've done things in ministry. My greatest accomplishment in my life is being a husband and a father. And I don't say that haphazardly. That's my greatest validation, having not had a dad, right? I purposed in my heart when I had my first son, when I was 17 years old, I got to do better. I got to be a great dad. And, dude, that's it. I'm not ready to retire to, the wilderness or anything like that. But I'm at a place where, hey, if I can get to, you get me in a big backyard, you give me a futon to sit on, and you put my kids around me, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't have to have anything else. House, I'm good. Car, I'm good. I just need my people, and that's where I am. So
yeah, family and relationships.
Yeah, man.
That you do find out that's all that matters.
Been a dad for 40 years, been married for 32. I'm good.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay.
3. My oldest son, like I said, I had when I was 17 years old. He'll be 40 next week. My daughter, Karen, will be 28, or just turned 28 yesterday.
Okay.
And then Kyle is the baby. He's the last of the Mohicans.
Happy belated to her.
I appreciate that, man. And he's 24, so
Okay.
we ride now. No more.
You finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
Cool.
But in that same vein, as a minister, coach, mentor, there's a whole lot of kids. And you mentioned my nephew, who
Yeah.
he can certainly attest to this, and it's not a pat on my back. It's reality. Truth doesn't lie, right? There's a whole bunch of kids that call Uncle Keith, Reverend Keith, Mr. Keith, so I take pride in that I have surrogate kids that are 25, 35, 40 years old, and that's never gonna change.
Yeah, I might be one of them via the internet. I think that's what led me to you, because I saw your messages, and like we talked about this earlier. There's a lot of different ways to play the role that you play as far as having a son or anyone in your family that's successful. You could be loud about it and stand in your light, or you could be quiet about it and just be supportive. And you are the latter. You're just supportive. You just play your role and just support. And I saw some of your messages on Facebook, and they were just love and sincere and so supportive. I'm like, man,
That's my thing. I when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, really entrenched in the ministry at the church I was at the time, and in the nonprofit that I was doing. That's what my time was. I mean, we sometimes were with my kids, sometimes weren't, right? And ministering to kids on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, and having kids do coaching or having kids do mentoring. And the number of times that my mentees have, it was nothing for me to go to somebody's game. It was nothing for me to go to somebody's rehearsal. It was nothing for me to go to somebody's recital. But then on the same token, or a different token, if the kids got in trouble, I can't tell you how many times I've been to a police station to vouch for somebody. I can't tell you how many times I've been to court to vouch for somebody. I can't tell you how many times, unfortunately, I've been to the hospital, and that's what and my wife too. She's kind of the backbone of our organization, if you will.
shout out to Mrs. Garland.
Absolutely. And that's what we do. And we've been doing that for a long time. We're not as engaged as we were 5 years ago, just because, your knees start hurting when you get past a certain age. You'll find out.
Yeah, they're already hurting. I already know.
So, but, that's what we do. I mean, that's what we've placed all our eggs in that basket. And we've been supportive of our own, certainly, but we've been supportive of our own as it relates to a surrogate level, right? I'm not going to replace anybody's mom, I'm not going to replace anybody's dad, but I've walked alongside of people for a long time, and I take great pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can tell, just through the messages and the way you deliver them, you get a feeling for who that person is, which is kind of the point of social media.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there in the messaging.
That's what we do, man. And yeah, like I said, I don't have a whole bunch of, preteens anymore, but the number of, the kids I mentored when they were preteens and when they were in high school are now mothers and fathers, right? So, the calls I get now are about, how'd you do this? How'd you do that?
Yeah.
So I'm helping new dads be new dads, and new moms be new moms, and trying to help them work through this paradigm shift, right? So some of the things that I did and some of the things that worked for me as a mentor father in 2000, 2005, 2010, they don't work in 2024, right?
Yeah.
So helping people to come up with new ideas and new thought patterns, and new methods, new methodologies for, at the end of the day, to get these kids through, right? To get these kids through to be successful, to get these kids through to be, viable citizens, to get these kids through this haze of life as it is in 2024. So whatever I can do to kind of clear out some of the haze, that's what we do. And sometimes it's just chatting. Yeah,
that part for sure. I was wondering myself, as a new father, that's probably again why I'm drawn to you, because you realize, like, you want to be able to just, that you need to be able to pour love into your kid.
Right.
That's like the beginning, the foundation. Like, how can I make sure that I pour love into this person? And you realize, like, okay, that starts with me. I got to make sure that I'm whole to be able to do that.
That's right.
And I see you doing that, and you coming from a place where you didn't have a father. My question for you is, how did you find your footing in that? How did you figure out how to become that?
So this is gonna, and I don't want to change this into this, because it's gonna sound like I'm trying to flip this into this kind of spiritual thing, and I know that's not what this is.
Oh no, you can.
So here's the deal. So
I'm with that too.
I didn't have my dad, and literally, and I'll tell this story as fast as I can. I got a call one day when I was in college, my second year of college, and I hear this raspy voice on the phone. I'm like, who's this? It's like, it's Dad. I'm like, the Dad? Who's Dad?
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short,
Dad who?
got to go. It's like, Dad, okay, right. I'm gonna come see you. I'm coming to see you. And the plan was to go literal on him. Yo, you wasn't this, I was gonna get him, because you have all this pain, you have all this trauma, you have all this, these questions and things that you have when you're coming up, and he's not there, and he's the impetus of this trauma and stuff. So I'm like, finally got him. I ain't seen him since I was like 2. I'm 19 years old now. I'm gonna get him. So I go, never forget, got on the bus, went down North Philly, went on Edding Street, right off a ridge, right? And I knock on the door, and the old lady answers the door, who winds up being my grandmother. She takes me in and she's showing me these people. It's a whole bunch, 4 or 5 guys sitting around there, including this one real old dude, right? Sitting off in the side. And I'm like, okay, where's John at? I'm ready to give it to him. She points to the old dude. The old dude is sitting there. He's 47 years old, Sean, but his stomach is blown up like he's getting ready to have triplets. And his hair is as white as snow, right? His hair is as white as snow. And I'm like, how can this guy be the 47-year-old guy that I thought was my father? He has cirrhosis of the liver, and he's days from dying, right? He can't talk. He can just barely kind of verbalize some things. You can't understand what he's saying. And he's sitting there, and all this vitriol that I had, it's just like, oh, I can't get, I'm gonna tell an old man he's getting ready to die off. Anyway, long story short, he dies. And I'm sitting at the funeral. This could sound weird. I'm sitting at the funeral. He's laid out in the casket, right? And I start bawling out. But I'm not bawling out because he's dead. I'm not bawling out because I'm sad. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was this liberation that came over me. It was like, dude, it's like almost like a voice, like I could hear a voice talking, right? And it's like, listen, everything you wanted him to be, I am. Everything you needed him to be, I was. He didn't do what he was supposed to do, and you're still here. You're still thriving. You're in college. Dude, what I tell you, it's the most liberating, most spiritual, most freedom-inducing experience I've ever had in my life, because it let me know that when blood's not thicker than water, spirit is thicker than blood. I don't want to be too deep.
No. I'm here for it all.
There's so many of us, black men, sisters, right, whose family ties didn't make it, right? They didn't, for whatever reason. I'm not being judgmental. They weren't around. But then God places people in your life to take the responsibility and to take the reins of what people were supposed to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why I jumped into mentorship and ministry the way that I did, because I got the revelation that people were there for me who weren't my blood, yet they provided something greater, and that literally was the one thing, if I had to point to something, that kind of catapulted me into what my life is today. And it also allowed me to forgive my father, who I never knew, but really forgave him, because I understand the concept of forgiveness, and forgiveness is not really letting somebody else off the hook. It's unfreeing yourself from knots so you can walk on from that which was detaining you before. So that's where we are. And that's kind of, dude, that's it. And we didn't rehearse that,
Nah.
but because that's such a poignant moment in my life, and it's such a poignant passage for me, I wear that on my sleeve. And when people ask me about that, I don't have to fish for the answer. I know exactly what it was. And I trust that my faith brought me to that, and certainly carries me through that. And I think that's what ultimately needs to happen to people. You stop blaming folk, right? You go past the blame game, and you see who's out there and see if they're willing to take on the mantle. And if they are, ride that thing out, man, because you ride that thing out with the right folk, you get to where you need to be every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, you got to let go.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah, man. That's kind of my manifesto. And I tell you, I can still feel the power of that 19-year-old kid that was ready to unleash. I can still feel that. Man, you don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that. And that's what so many cats, and I've talked to younger people who I've mentored that have gotten into trouble or have done things that they wish they hadn't have done because they couldn't tame that power of vengeance. They couldn't tame that power of, I got to get back at you, or I need to let you know how. It's all good.
Yeah, you carry that.
Yeah.
In my experience, you do so unknowingly, though. You know, like I come from the same situation, basically, and not to make this about me, but to prevent myself from crying. The thing that you just described happened to me 2 hours ago. What a crazy world, right? Like, I'm sitting here talking to you about a story that happened to you that happened to me hours ago. My dad just died a couple days ago. What are the chances? What are the chances?
Like I said, stuff happens for a reason, yo. Stuff happens for a reason. And I don't do happenstance, even when you contact me, it's like, yo, let's do it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it right there. And I don't know, where you are in the journey, but to hear you say that kind of thing happened, man, shoot, listen, your greatest goal is to be a dad now, it's said, people have said, I don't know who to attribute it to, but the only person that ever wants you to be better than him is your dad. Dude, that wasn't true for you and me.
No.
That wasn't true. Dude was like, do whatever. He wasn't thinking about us like that. Or if he was, he wasn't. They weren't. I don't want to displace, your dad. So it wasn't their top motivation.
Yeah.
Right. To be present.
Yeah.
To be present. The power of presence. Right. There's some rooms I can walk in, right, and nobody says a word. But there are some rooms that I walk in and everybody shuts up because of presence, because of what I've offered, right? And when you have that, man, listen, you can turn the world around. And when you don't have it, or where people don't understand the power of it, man, listen, that's a hurtful thing, and it can build up. I lived in the hood, man. I lived at 11th and Tioga. I lived a couple blocks from the Badlands. I lived where the crack epidemic started, right? And where people started getting knocked off in 1983, 1984, right? And even in that environment, right, there were dudes that I hung with, right? And their dads was around. I mean, they might have been drunk.
Yeah.
They might have been
they had 'em.
cussing them out, but they came home.
Yeah.
If not every night, every other night. I never came.
Yeah.
So I carried that thing, like you said, but that's the part, and that's where you and I, in this role as dads and in this role as mentors, you got to help people understand, young guys understand, yeah, you carry stuff. It's there. Now, how do we manifest this thing so it don't become a problem? How do we manifest this thing? How do we recognize it so it doesn't become a problem? How do we recognize the power of spiritual connection? How do we manifest the power of surrogatehood? Right? How do we manifest the power of being detached from blood? Right? How do we do that? And the answer is not definitive, but it needs to be discussed and talked about. And when you grasp it, man, shoot.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely. You're right about the power of detachment, because in the absence of detachment, we all seek connection.
That's right.
And that's how sometimes we end up being connected to the wrong thing.
That's right.
Because we're gonna just gravitate towards anything that shows us any sort of love.
Dude, listen, and I tell, when I was doing this mentoring thing over the years, I would tell, and this was 15 years ago, I would say, listen, girls, they could get, and it's different now. Girls get to 22, 23, 24, they're not married, right? Okay, well, that's when all the questions start coming, right? 22, 23, because before then, you got somebody that's willing to come in, good, bad, or indifferent. They're willing to come in and take you along for the ride.
Yeah.
Guys are different. That questioning thing starts happening, and I saw it a ton coming up in 2000s when the young guys get ready to graduate high school, and college isn't on the horizon, or the service isn't on the horizon, or a job isn't on the horizon, and my boys are starting to do things, and what am I doing? So now it's like, I'm untethered, right? I'm kind of floating around in this existence, and oh, there's the drug game. Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me, here, let me find a girl. Give me that, right? And let me, I don't want to lose that because I've been tethering and I don't know where I'll land. So let me hold on to that tighter, and start exhibiting dominance, not because, this girl is XYZ, but because if I let go, where do I land?
Yeah.
Where do I land? So, it's a lot of different things in that, man, and stuff that I've experienced and people that I've talked to and situations that I've encountered that if you get a brother that is real with you and ain't about no phoniness, ain't about no foolishness or phoniness, man, listen, we can fix this thing.
Yeah.
But it's about cats, older cats, you, me, having the wherewithal and the willingness to be present. To be present. Is it foolproof? Nah, what is, right? But is it capable? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's capable. Does it work? Oh yeah.
Now I got a question. Now I got a million questions. But so you talk about, the onus being on us to be present. If we have it to give,
Right.
we should. So how do you do that? When you start to build a family and you start to realize, or I don't know, now everything's so chaotic out there in the world, and you start to feel like the only control, though we never have control, but the power to, have influence on things is like near us.
Yeah.
So like our inner circle, our
Yeah.
kids or whatever. So
Yeah.
at what point do you decide I can do something outside of my family?
Great question. So I said earlier, I've been married 32 years, right? Been with one woman for 37. One woman for 37. Yo.
Congratulations. I'm glad you reiterated that point, because it hits a little harder when you say that. I was like, whoa.
Right, for 37 years. And she today is my best friend in the whole wide world. And I'll share with you, just talking as brothers, right? Because it's the conversation has moved to that level of transparency, right? I've been in trouble one time in my life, in my marriage, one time.
Okay.
And the impetus of the trouble was my involvement in ministry, was my involvement to go do and help everybody else's kid. And dude, my wife was reading bedtime stories every night and I was never doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, yo, everybody else is what you and the key is, and this is what brothers miss, especially when they chasing, really trying to help, and particularly in, this era of mental wellness, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's chasing and trying to help somebody because everybody got some issue, right? Everybody's got somebody needs, and that's a little harsh, but everybody needs to be guided through whatever they're going through.
True.
My stuff got right. My marriage got back on track, and my ministry went to another level when I incorporated my wife into this thing. When I incorporated, I was running, doing all these things. I was distracted, just doing. Stuff will get done at home, whatever. When I brought her into it, and I brought her ideas and her experience and her abilities into the mission that we had, man, it was totally different. And she understood, because after she got in and she started doing whatever she was doing, it would be like, hey, Keith, can you put Karen and Kyle to bed tonight? Because I'm working on this, right? I got to get all these registrations in, because it became our thing, and not my thing. It became our thing, man, and we just started to walk that thing out together. And I never got too far ahead. If I ever felt like, hey, I was going to do something and she wasn't a part of, we went back. We had these mentoring trips that we would do every year. We would take a group of kids, we would mentor them all through the year, give them different educational pursuits, show them different things, and just kind of keep them interested. And then at the end of the year, we would take them every Christmas time. We would go out to LA, fly the kids out, have a good time. I did that once or twice by myself. She's in this now. And we took, I can't even tell you how many trips we took, and the blessings that came out of that and the resources that came out of that. We were a team.
Yeah.
We were a team. And we've been a team in ministry. We've been a team in life, like I said, in life for 37 years, but in ministry for 30. That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. Because it becomes not what you're doing, is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if we're doing this thing, we got to think about both of us and what we're both doing in order for it to be successful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now I got another question.
Yes, sir.
So as far as, like I'm trying to collaborate with, collaborative effort with anyone in life is hard. That's why we see like bands break up and all types of shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something that I only just realized after doing this. Like doing something with someone is a challenge, especially if there's not a commitment that makes you stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just get up and go, most times people are going to do that.
Right.
So I don't even know where I initially started. It was about coming together. Shit. How do you guys do that? I'm gonna have to edit this.
No,
Sorry about that. What did I ask you initially?
It was you were asking me, hey, how did you incorporate this thing so that your family don't get lost? That basically was the basic premise. So hey, you're doing this. How do you do this? And
together.
Rather it's just a small thing, or whether how does it grow to something big, and how do you keep that control, right? And that's how we did that. But I think the question, or at least the question I would have asked, or the information I would have given off of that, would have been like, okay, so you got your wife involved. What about your kids too? How do they not get lost? How do they not get lost? How do they feel a part of this, right? And it becomes the same thing, right? And there would be times when we would have our kids part of the ministry or whatever, the mentoring that we were doing. And that would be, we do that in December. But in July, the 4 or 5 of us, that's it. We go. We do our time. We get our time away, so that they made sure that they knew, hey, that's Mr. Keith, that's Reverend Garland, everybody. But that's Dad does.
Yeah.
So you make that time and you make that sacrifice. I think the bigger thing too is like, hey, what's the goal? What's the end game, right? Is the end game for profit, right? Is the end game for exposure, or is the end game to help better these people's lives? What's the end game, right? I don't make no more money. I never got money from mentoring. I've had programs that have generated income. I can do that real well, right? But it's not for me I'm not looking to get rich off of this. I'm looking to expose kids, or to equip kids to not be afraid of life, right? To not be afraid of it, to not be afraid to get out and try, to not be afraid to explore. I mean, the number of kids that that I took on trips, one of the best things about our trips in December for me was, if I had 10 kids or if I had 13 kids, and one year we took 26 kids, and of that 26, 24 were taking their first plane ride, right? Mm. They were 13, 14, 15 years old, and never been on a plane. It's like, oh my God, that kind of thing. Just that, hey, this world, that's the end game for us, right? Yeah. I think that's the end game, for true mentorship. That these kids find something new. They get something new. They challenge themselves academically. They challenge themselves socially, right? Without fear of being injured, right? Or without fear of making mistakes, right? That's the end game for us. And if you can do that, if you and I are on a team, right? And the end game is what I just described. If you and I don't get along, that don't break this up. that don't break this up. The end game is not for me to be satisfied. The end game is not for me to be happy. The end game is not for everything to go exactly the way that I want. And that can't sustain it all the time, but it certainly can get you through some battles, right?
Yeah.
When you don't see eye to eye, it can give you that time you need to kind of diffuse and de-escalate, if you will, and get you refocused on the end game.
You just answered my question there. I appreciate that. Because my question originally was, how do you go about, being successful in a collaborative effort with your wife?
Yeah.
That was really just a question. But you
Yeah.
just answered it. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's so many things that come up with the wife thing, man, right? And I think the most important thing, and I've done, you know, as a minister, as a pastor, I've done, premarital counseling, right? I've done premarital counseling. And I talk about, and people don't talk about it, that the woman that you married at 25, 26, if you make the mistake and think she's going to be the same woman at 36, you in trouble. You in trouble. The same thing goes for us, right? The same thing goes for us as guys. I'm not the same guy. If you, babe, if you try, and not to be provocative, that goes into every section, every closet of your life. If you think you're the same guy socially at 20 to 30, you in trouble. If you think you're the same guy mentally, 20 to 30, if you think you're the same guy sexually, physically, 20, and if you don't prepare her, she doesn't help prepare you for that seasonal change,
Yeah.
boy.
yeah,
Boy.
yeah.
So that's one of the things I talk to couples about. Listen, this is great. Dude, she could be 35 in 10 years. You ready for that? Get ready. It comes fast.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, listen, I know he's swinging off the chandelier now at 30, right? He Tarzan. Listen, at 40, he could be Jane.
Yeah.
And he gonna need you to, different things like that. And I don't want to take,
No.
But that's the thing. And it's just that, it's that recognition. It's that recognition that, you go through these seasons. And as we get older, those seasons that I put in a 10-year window just now and talking to you, those windows become smaller, right? Me at 57 years old, my seasons of I don't want to say stability, but seasons of things being the same, dude, that only lasts 3 years now. By the time I get to, it could last 2 years, something else could change, right? And recognizing that you have to adjust. You have to adjust.
Yeah.
You have to negotiate, if you will, right? You got to do that kind of things, and you got to be transparent, right? You got to be transparent. The one thing my wife and I have agreed on above everything else, and we don't argue. We don't argue. We just don't. Never really much have. But you got this whole Kamala Harris, Donald Trump thing going on, right? This politics going. Just say it to my face. Just whatever it is, if you got a problem with me, say it to my face. Don't have me guessing. Don't have. If it's a real problem for you, let me know what it is.
Yeah.
And if you do that, good. You'll be good.
Yeah.
And if I love you, my definition of love is seeking out somebody else's best good. That's my definition. If I love you and you got an issue, I got to make that become my issue. I don't care what your girlfriend say. I don't care what my boys say. I don't care what everybody else is doing. This is what works here. And that transparency has carried us to a point where, at 57 and 55 years old, married 30 plus years, we having a good time. We having a great time enjoying each other. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I can't imagine my life without her. Can't imagine it.
That perspective is amazing. I think if that perspective was shared among the collective, we'd have a lot of, but the marriage rate would be a little bit more successful.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
but now I'm just encountering that myself, realizing
Yeah.
I think you have some awareness, but not really until things really start to change, you know, and then you start to realize like, oh, you know, what you said, like people do change and things do change. And I find that to be the more fun part of the experience because like, it just makes it harder. Like, you know, I like a challenge.
Right.
So that just
Oh no,
makes
it's
it more.
challenges that come. Believe that.
Yeah.
Believe that. I mean,
Yeah.
challenges come. But again, there was a song way back. You won't know it. Teddy Pendergrass used to sing, and he used to say in his song, you know, talking about a 50-50 love, right? You know, I give 70%, she gives 30%. You know what? I tell people in my classes I taught, that's a recipe for disaster. That if you give 50% and I give 50%, we're supposed to be successful with that. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for disaster. Why? Because you're only getting half of me. The end game is not to have 100 from both of us. The end game is to have 200 because you give it 100% all the time and you give it 100% all the time.
Yeah.
And because sometimes you're not gonna be capable for whatever reason to give your whole 100.
Yeah.
I need your 100 to carry me, when I'm doing that. So so often, and if I'm looking to give my 100%, this is my view. If I'm looking to give my 100%, the end game for me is not. This could sound like. The end game in my marriage, watch this, is not for me to be happy. I'm gonna let that marinate a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to hear
put
where we're
some
going
accent
with
in
it.
that, right?
I'm trying to hear where we're going
That's
with
not the end game. The end game is not for me to be happy. The end game is for us to be happy.
Agreed.
That's the end game is for us to be happy. And if the end game for us to be happy, you said it when we first started the show, I can't give all of me. If I got to be whole. And if I see my wife, and she's not whole, my job, watch this, is to make sure I got to get her, I got to leave all of me behind to make sure she get to her 100. She can't service me fully if she not 100. I'm gonna sit and chill right here and go make sure she's straight first. And then the energy that I've used to that when she 100, baby, take care of this now. Then also to recognize it as a spiritual brother, you can understand that there are some, watch this, there are some things, there are some holes in her that you cannot feel. Right? And then I'm turning this into a Bible study.
No, keep going. This is what it needs to be.
There's some holes in her that you cannot fill, right? And because you cannot fill her, that's when you then become the husband. You become the husband, the house band, the one that holds the house together. Because that's my responsibility, I'm going to leave my me alone so that I can address our we. And even when our we, I can't fulfill that, then I got to direct it to the one that I know who can. That's why it's so hard. I mean, it was so hard when I would do marriage counseling, right? When one person had a spiritual connect, whatever that spiritual connect is, and the other person didn't. Because then everything is always left on me, what I'm not getting.
Yeah.
Right? And not recognizing that there's a higher person, a higher being that we need to go to when everything we've tried has been unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Man.
I must have needed to hear this today.
Dude, listen, man. It's so, listen. There's no greater. What's the word I'm looking for? There's no greater manifestation. This is me talking, right? There's no greater manifestation of a husband's love for his wife than to pray for her earnestly. Listen, I'm not going to take you to this person, that person, whatever. That you say, listen, as a brother, as a man, as a provider, right? I got this. There's no greater manifestation of love than that man saying, I don't have it all. Lord, I need you to help me. Man, shoot, that'll flip the script real fast. If not real fast, it'll flip it eventually. Because I know of instances where a spouse was, just ready to go, ready to bail, right? Ready to get out of it all. And again, without sounding spooky and over spiritual, where the prayer of the other partner brought them through. There's a, it just can. I don't think there's any greater, greater power, greater love that a husband can show his wife than to do that. And that's humbling, man, right? Especially if you're a guy like me, and like I said, the paradigm has shifted, and I came through, hey, take care of your family, right? I prided myself on being, a provider and protector, right? My wife stayed home throughout our marriage, took care of the kids, took care of our home, right? That was her job. When our last kid left, we gave her a retirement party because her
Oh
job,
yeah,
that job was over, right?
that is a job.
But we would in going through that, and hey, I got this. And I didn't have it all, right? And to know that there were things in her, you know, she would have problems with something, and I wasn't the problem. We think we the problem. What did I do?
Yeah,
That ain't true. And like you said, sometimes you don't even know, right? So I just believe that, man, and because it's benefited our home so greatly over the years, and we've seen it benefit other couples too. 100%, nah, but far greater success than failure,
yeah,
right? And it starts when brothers submit to that, because we don't know it all, we don't have it all, we can't do it all, and to
yeah.
think that you can, you got a recipe going. It
For
ain't
disaster.
jambalaya for
Yeah,
disaster.
yeah, I get it. Yeah,
But yeah, man. So
absolutely.
that's it, man. And we ride out, and we share that, and we live by that. And like I said, I mean, we're at a place. We got some contemporary friends who, couples who ignored the us of their relationship while they were raising their kids, and they're battling now because the kids are gone, right? But we're in a different place, thank God, right? We're in a different place, because I knew, I've been known. I'm not here for me to be happy. I'm not here for that. And most cats, especially in this dispensation right now, when I talk to people that had troubles, or people have come to us with, I'm not happy. Okay. Well, I need to be happy. Okay. That's the end game? Bruh. You've been fighting a losing battle since the gate.
Yeah,
We need to be happy, not me.
yeah,
We need to be happy. And listen, there's certainly there's components and different things that can happen, and there's different, intangibles and influences that can impact people. People can just go into complete selfishness, and but I'm talking about two people that want to be successful in this thing. Yeah, that want to be successful in this, that want this thing to work, that believe, what your vows said, that you're supposed to be in this till death do us part. Then this ain't. I ain't. If us is happy, I'll get mine.
yeah,
If us is
yeah. I
happy,
agree with that.
I'll
Yeah,
get mine.
yeah, for sure. Because for me personally, I feel like figuring out how to make me happy is the easiest part of it. That's like I'm a simple, like you. Don't think much. Family happy, mom happy, wife happy. I'm good.
You got
I'm
to make
alive.
that.
Got food. Got a roof.
You.
Eat.
So I told you, and I said this to some older guys that are your age. I said, that one time I was in trouble in my marriage, right? And it was different. I made mention of one component, one aspect. But the key for me was looking in the mirror. And I did this literally. I looked in the mirror, and it's like, who do you want that guy to be? Right? Who do you want that guy to be? And it's I don't want to say spiritual. It's just it's an epiphany though, right? Where you come to terms with yourself, right? And it's like you don't care what nobody else. Who do you want that person in the mirror? What do you want him to say about the person that's staring at him, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who did you want that guy to be?
That's a good question, right? So who do you want that guy to be? And it goes back even to you talking about my father not being around, right? Biggest question is, I want that guy to be a father. I want that guy to be a good father. I want that guy to know that he was there, that he was present. I can't do that if I'm running off.
Yeah.
I can't do that if I'm running off. I want that. I came from a family where marriage either didn't happen or certainly wasn't successful. I want to be successful at that, right? I want to be integrous to that guy. Do people tell lies? Sure, but integrous, right? I want that person in that mirror. I don't want to be the causative effect to this thing going down. I don't want it to be my fault. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that and other things, and when you say that, it's like you it almost becomes, kind of a militaristic command, almost, right? Okay, yeah, get over the wall. Whatever that obstacle is, this obstacle course you can't pass. You don't go to the next level. You don't get to see what's on the other side. Get over the wall. I gotta figure it out. I gotta figure it out. I'm not going nowhere. And for me, one of the biggest things, I said this when I was 17 years old. I'm not letting, and I don't mean no disrespect to nobody. For me, nobody else is raising my kids.
Yeah.
Me, that's me. I don't have no disrespect for what people do. And like I even talked about surrogate stuff, and for me, and if that meant for me not to be, 100% happy, okay. That's more important. The end game. The end game is different, man. It's different. And I came to a place, Sean, where I learned the principle of functionality over feeling. The principle of function over feeling. See, look quizzical. So, your mom raised you?
Yeah.
Okay, your mom raised you.
Yep.
So your mom raises you, and you going to want to take you back to 12, right? You go into one of your adolescent moments. You just defiant, right? And you did something that totally pissed your mom off. No disrespect in conversation, right? So your mom and she's mad at you, right? She is upset with you. It's like, oh my gosh, she's the most disappointed she's ever been in her life when it comes to you, right? That feeling is there, right? But guess what happened at 5 o'clock? Even though she's mad at you, right? Guess what happened at 5, 6 o'clock? She sent you to your room already. She don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. Get out my face. Old school mom, right? Guess what happened at 6 o'clock? Even though she pissed at you. Sean, come down here and eat.
Yeah.
That's function.
Yeah.
Because this is my role, and nothing that happens externally changes what my function is. Good. Boy, I'm getting ready to go.
Yeah.
So excuse me, people miss that as a dad or as a husband in tough times, I got to get to a place where I'm manifesting out of function over feeling. You do that? Man, shoot.
Yes.
Man, shoot. It's just different. So I believe that there's certain times, there's certain times. So there's the feeling comes into you get all A's, you get all A's. Some of these things need to be shared and talked about going in. I mean, and I think that conversations like this, if people need to have those kind of conversations ongoing. I think there's so many different dynamics that a part of today's experience that don't allow for, you know, guys to have transparent conversations like this, right? I think that's shifting a little bit, but in a professional level because of the focus on mental health and and being cathartic, in a professional setting. But that's got to happen, on one-on-ones like this, right? I think guys make a mistake in not having, are thinking that mentorship only exists for teenagers and adolescents, right? I think mentorship should extend from the cradle to the grave,
Yeah.
as best it can, right? But everybody, does believe that everybody, people are busy, people chasing the bag,
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So, you know.
I think now there's more access to it. I wanted to say this to you earlier because when I growing up, I was learning a lot from what not to do. You
Yeah.
know? That's all I was learning from seeing people around me because truthfully, I didn't have a whole lot of real positive, successful
Right.
role models around me. So
Right.
I was learning what not to do. So as I got older, I kind of feel like I was behind a little bit because, like learning, that's not the way you really want to learn. It'd be better to learn what to do right away. So now, as we all have the internet and then, access, like I can access you and see who you are and, just information from different people that are inspiring or motivational or anything. And now we're kind of learning
Yeah, I mean,
how we can be better.
you learn, and
You're only as good as the people that are around you.
old phrase I use throughout my ministry, when you're garnering information, and there's so much more avenues to information now as opposed to 1985, 89, 90 when I was doing it, right? But the adage is still true. You got to chew up the meat and spit out the bones, right? You get so much, and I see guys, everything they hear, they're trying to do everything you can't,
Yeah.
and everything, doesn't apply to you, right? You got to take what's good for you, and the rest, keep on moving, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And things what's good for your particular situation, and again, even that, you still got to be focused on the end goal. If I'm being married, the end goal, us need to be happy. If that's the end goal, all this stuff about what you need to do and what you need, and he needs to be this and she needs to, dude, that's okay, mental health, I get that, but let's go talk about why that's not happening, and what you think is most important, right?
Yeah, you know what's interesting about the world currently is we have people like you, right, who are, leading by example quietly. You're just doing it, not loud, not boisterous about it. And then you have social media where there's a whole lot of facade, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of selling snake oil. There's a lot of BS out there, and it's kind of, like you said, chew up the meat and spit out the bones. It's hard to sift through what is real and what is real. And then sometimes you might actually have the chance to meet these people and you're like, that's not it at all. You're not that.
Listen, the greatest teacher, right, is life, right? And I think, again, making the determination about what kind of individual you want to be, right, and what kind of example you want to be, and what kind of I don't know, I don't want to say legacy, because legacy looks at kind of this futuristic presence without you, right? I ain't too concerned about that right now. But what kind of lineage, right? I can, my legacy I won't be here for, but my lineage I am, right? So that means I'm staying involved, I'm staying engaged, I'm trying to teach the whole time, like you said, live by example, and just go from there, man. I mean, the social media thing, good stuff, bad stuff, but this it's just a whole nother world, man. I talk to kids that know how to do that, and I don't even know what it is. And I think from my generation, there's a number of people that are feeding into that, and we made it without it. This is us, right? We don't. I don't even know the G, the Z's, the Q's, the X's, whatever. I don't even know what letter I am, whatever. But people from my generation, we made this thing without that, right? And we made it through relationships, right? If we made it, right? I don't think that has to be the end all. I mean, this is just me. I mean, I do social media, right? I watch, I post, right? But I'm not a perpetual scroller. I'm
Yeah, they call that doom scrolling.
1 o'clock. Oh, it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd rather try and set what the foundation is than to listen to somebody that I don't listen. Watch me. Watch me. I'd rather watch me than watch you.
Yeah, presence, like you said, it's
Oh
the point
God.
you keep reiterating. Sometimes when I make sure, every now and then I'll get caught up in it too, but I try not to because the way it feels, if ever I'm looking at my phone and my son is in proximity to me and I catch myself doing it, I feel like disgusted with
Yeah.
myself a little bit,
Yeah.
because I'm like, this is,
Yeah.
I realize I've been given, at least I would say, that gift to realize the moment, and how
Yeah.
important it is.
Yeah.
So, and at the moment, it's all fleeting,
So
it can be gone. So I will
it,
discard my phone as soon as I realize it and come right back and be present and just absorb it and
it's
try to
crazy,
appreciate
right?
it.
You look at from the phone and social media is the hot button topic, right? People say different things about it, right? You go back to when I was raising my sons, right? Really 2 generations apart, 40 and 24, right? 16 years difference, right? But for both of them, we didn't have the social media thing, right? But we did video games. And remember, oh my God, you're playing video games on it. Still, some people, right? People making tons of money off of it now, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But even when, and I don't play video games at all now, and I'm horrible at it. But when I did, when my kid was there, right? When I'm playing with my son, you know what we did? We still engaged one another.
Yeah.
We still engage, right? Sometime that engagement would get to a point where he wanted to knock me out or I wanted to knock him out. But even in that, that's problem solving, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's problem solving as opposed to not even looking at each other, right? So, I think there's some things that we can do with our kids about engagement and still be contemporary, right? And still be in touch with what they're doing because it's always teaching moments, man. The greatest qualm I have against the social media phenomenon is that it just doesn't foster interpersonal relationship.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And I mean, people,
I agree.
flesh on flesh, right? Not this electronic stuff, not this, I hate that we're in the Jetsons world. I don't want to be in the Flintstones world anymore, but
Yeah.
I hate that we're in this Jetsons world now where everything is so instantaneous and you don't have to work on, it's almost this oxymoron, right? It's social media, right? Social media that takes away social skills,
Yeah. 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 You're
right?
totally disengaged from the actual world.
Yeah,
You're engaged in
yeah.
social media.
So, those are the things, man, and that's what I tried to do. Like I said, something a modicum of success. Yeah, not saying I haven't had disagreements with my kids at different times and all that kind of stuff, but man, please.
I would say, as far as being present, a father, I don't know your life as far as a husband, but it's still intact. So you must have had some level of success. From the outside looking in, it appears as if you're succeeding
That's it.
or have been successful, which is,
We rocking out. Listen, like I said, I wanted to be there. I mean, my goal was, I, 0 to 18 was that's my job, right? I'm dad, right? I'm going to do this. And I've told my kids this, right? After they left home or went off to school, I said, listen, I've been this, that, and the third. My roles could change now, right? The first 18 years of your life, I'm the firefighter, right? Now that you're 18, I'm not firefighter no more. I'm paramedic. What's the difference? You love these
Yeah, I'm
analogies, right?
seeing because I'm trying to connect it. You're putting out fires.
My
you're, like,
firefighter,
solving problems.
when I'm firefighter 0 to 18, right? You get into a mess, you get into a fire. What's the firefighter do? Run into the flames. I got to get you out of here, right? That's my role. You got to. I'm going to go down to school, see about it, right?
Yeah.
You know, every game. I got to go to every game. Even I got to, whatever your situation, I got to do. You got girlfriend, boyfriend. I'm handling it, right? 18 on, I'm paramedic now.
Your response team.
I'm not running in the flame no more. When you come out, I'm here to resuscitate you. If you need, to get resuscitated, you need some mouth to mouth after you get. But I'm not running in every fire right now. I'm not doing that right now because people still miss that now. People still trying to be firefighter in their 30-year-old son's life. And because of that, he doesn't mature.
Yeah.
He's running to mom. He's I don't know. Got this cowardice. You got to make some tough decisions, You got to. People can't do that because they got a 60-year-old firefighter dad. You know what? You gotta go to work. You gotta pay your rent. I'm not paying your rent.
Yeah.
Not every month.
Yeah, what do you think that comes from? My personal opinion on it, it seems like people that, how do I phrase this without saying it? I don't want to judge any person or anything like that, but it seems like there's a need to feel like needed or wanted. So by doing that, you end up doing everything you can for the child, and you're enabling them, but you're actually disabling them. So like for me personally, the idea for me was to make my son be as independent as soon as he could be.
As soon as he can.
As soon as he can. Walk, feed, talk, jump, all of it. You got to fall. You got to, like anything that I know the chances of him dying is 0.
Right.
You got to do it. You got to experience. But if, death is a risk, no, then I'm going to intervene, of course. But outside of that, you got to let them figure out the world.
Both my sons have had, massive girlfriend problems, right? And how I dealt with them when they were 16 is way different than how I dealt with them when they were 20, 22, 23. Dude, you gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
Come to me, get some advice, right? But you gotta figure this out, man. Same with my daughter, same thing. You got to figure this out. And this perpetual, not perpetual, but this idea that as a parent you get to, or you should, or you have an obligation to get your grown kid out of every problem. I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't subscribe to that. I just don't. I give advice. I'll give, you make this decision. You majored in what you majored in. You taking what job you taking in. You chose who you wanted to be with. You gotta figure out, because we figured it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, through experience.
Like I said, my father didn't tell me, yo, look out for. My mama didn't. My mom raised 5 kids on her own, 4 boys. We figured it out.
Amazing. Anytime I think of, I only have 1 kid, so anytime I see anyone with more than 1, I'm like, I want to give them a medal, because I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, how? Like, I'm like,
it's a different.
How?
It's a different ball game.
The resources is just like, I don't know. Yeah. My battery only got so much.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Real quick. This is for everyone, every father of, or mother of an athletic child. How did you figure out, because you were his coach, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. How did
you balance that, being like dad and coach in his life? Like how did you navigate that successfully?
It's a slippery slope, Sean. And it can go sideways real easy, right?
Because I don't want to coach I feel like I don't want to do it because I don't want to, it's like,
well, let me answer that point first, right? What I would advise, I don't think you need to be a helicopter parent that's right there all the time. But if your son or sons or future daughter, if they become, have a level of athletic prowess, right, where somebody's going to want something from them. And that's what it really is when you talk about high levels of AAU, NIL now, you know, so you best stay close.
Yeah.
You best stay close because our experience is, and I'll talk about it in a second, our experience is people will say whatever to get you into the camp. And then similarly to people, when you don't give them what they want at the level that they want, it can go sour real quick.
Yeah.
It can go sour real quick. But I remember we had what I call our come to Jesus moment when Kyle was about 13 years old. And it's like, dude, you want me to do this? You know, because he was starting to get good and wanted to be better. He had taken, he had missed making a final in 100 one time, and some of his buddies made the final. He didn't make the final. He was so pissed, and he got it right. And for me, that's the biggest thing. When I didn't consent to coach my son at a high level, right, of accountability. You know, he's on the track team, and you coach, and you go your field day kind of thing. But when you say, hey, I want to be better and I want to compete at the top of this sport, right? I didn't coach him at that level till he demonstrated on his own that he was locked in. So when my son, of his own volition, at 13 years old, started to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning on his own to do his workout, that's when I said, we ready to rock.
So you wanted to make sure that you saw commitment to what it was that he wanted. So
You got to do
you
it.
weren't leaning on him at
Nope.
any point.
It had to be him, because I having had a level of experience collegiately. That's what the goal was, right? Our end goal when we first started training was like, oh, we want to get a scholarship to, you know, Shippensburg. We want to
Blew that goal out the water.
We want to get to Shippensburg, right?
that goal out
we
the
can
water.
get a recruitment from Shippensburg or Bloomsburg, right?
Yeah.
No disrespect to those schools,
Yeah.
but that was our end goal.
They ain't the SEC.
No, it's not the SEC, right? But when he started, you know, when I would be laying in my bed, I never forget one day, it's 5:30 in the morning. It's 5:30 in the morning, and I heard he was knocking at my bedroom door. I was like, yeah. My wife thought, it's like, oh, no, this is for him, right? Because he's locked in now, right? And this becomes his dream. So many kids I've seen, it's the parents' dream, it's dad's dream. You know, dad is vicariously living through their son because they want. No, this is, you know, dude, you quit anytime you want. You can leave. That was initially. Once you locked in, we're not quitting, right? You gotta put your stuff in. But when he did that, and then we pushed. So we talked about it. You know, when we coaching, when we working out, and I'm gonna bust everything that needs to be bust for you to get there. And then when we come home and we sit down at the dinner table and we eat, or we sitting there watching film, we busting it up, we laughing. And like I said, there has to be, you know, this separation that comes, whether it was from the ministry. There would be times when we would, you know, we're big amusement park people, right? We don't even talk track, right? We just go and we just hang out. But it got to a point by the time he was 14 and he had started getting national recognition, right? Making his first international team when he was 16. By that time it was his. He's waking me up to get up, right? He's giving me new thresholds to challenge him at, you know, in his workout, right? He's seeking to do, you know, different things to get stronger, better, right? So that's how you do it.
I'm gonna make an assumption here. You're a former athlete.
Yeah, I had a cup of coffee, did really well in high school, ran track for a year and a half at Temple University before I got hurt, whatever. But more than that, I'm a track head, right? I love track and field and studied it, you know, and, you know, read enough things to know how to coach sprints and things like that and hurdles. When my son got into the decathlon, I had to learn different sports. I mean, where you go in the hood and learn the pole vault, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
had to expand my resources and learned a ton, right? and went to a ton of classes, and got a couple certifications from the governing body of USA track and field, right? It's just you're just learning. You're just constantly learning, constantly, going learning things on the fly and trying to absorb what you can, you know, and that's how we went. I mean, I learned a lot on social media, on the internet, right? About the throws and things like that. But more than anything, when you read, guys, Michael Jordan, and you read guys, that have, you read Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality, right? You read, there's so many things outside of the physical, right? Outside of the physical training that are critical to high performance that have nothing to do with physical training. As I said, those things you tap into, so we're huge. Even when he was 13, 14, and even now, I send him quotes all day, every day, right? If I come across something, we're huge on visualization, right? We're huge on understanding the power of words, right? We're huge on those things. So those things that apply to general successes outside of athletics, right?
Absolutely.
You incorporate that into your regimen, right? And you do that, and then learning how to challenge. Like you said, I don't yell at my kid. I mean, when you're working out, you get some intensity, right? But but I know how to push his buttons.
Yeah.
You know, I know what kind of things, give him that eye of the tiger, if you will, right? And we know how to tap into that, and when we need to tap into it, so we do it. That's how
So
we do.
you've been coached before, obviously, as a former athlete, and your father was absent. So I'm just wondering, from your experience, is there a different level within the experience based on the emotional bond or connection between the two of you?
Well, I'll say this. I think in order to coach your kid at a high level, you got to separate the emotion.
Okay.
You really have to separate the emotion. One of the greatest joys, and I didn't even realize it, right? I didn't even realize it until it happened, right? My son in 2021, whatever, 21, 22, made his first world team, right? He made his first world team. And one of the things that they do when you make the world team, right? USATF, the governing body, they have their own coaching staff. They have their own coaching staff. And, so you're coaching, he's on a junior team, right? And I'm his coach, right? We're in Tampere, Finland, right? And I'm coaching, I need to be close by.
Yeah.
I couldn't be close by. I didn't have access to the team. I didn't not having access to the team. I don't have daily access to my son. So, somebody else is coaching him. This is the first time. This is 2017, actually. Somebody's coaching him. I'm like, so, and he's good. I want him to do well, but having made the team was kind of the pinnacle of that season. How you did, they weren't really caring about it. So the coach said, they have a meeting. They said, bring all the parents together before we go. Get on. You get to watch your son, your kid, as a parent and not as a coach. I'm like, man, get out of here. And I didn't realize that. Dude, I went in, and 17, we were in Lima, Peru. He's 17 years old. Somebody else is coaching him. It was the first time in 5 years that I watched him as a parent and not as a coach. I couldn't believe it. I hadn't been having fun watching him. And it's still very, very, and even now sometimes it's hard to watch him as a parent because you still coach so much, right?
Yeah.
So it's a huge difference. And if you don't, you got to separate that emotion in order to coach and to be successful. But when you bring it back, you don't even realize that you've, made this designation. That's a critical designation here. And that's cool, right? That's super cool. And it was refreshing for me. I don't get to do that a ton now. because I'm just a nervous Nelly when it comes to, and there's so much more at stake now, right? You know, how he does depends on how he gets paid, right? But that's a big deal. So you gotta really separate the emotion. He can't. I my son Kyle Garland is different than the athlete Kyle Garland when we're coaching him. When he's coaching him, we coaching.
Yeah.
We coaching, yo. Because it is not just that, hey, it's my kid. You can if you don't detach that emotional piece, the father in you can always say, go, 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 go. You can do more. That's what the father can do because you want that success for your son. The coach knows, hey, the coach can easier recognize when he needs rest.
Yeah. Limitations.
Yeah, dad doesn't do as good as that, at that, right? You know, we understand in thresholds and things like that. Dad doesn't understand the power in rest as much as coach does.
Yeah.
Dad doesn't see that. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You don't, it's like, come on, hit the ball. Dude, the lights is out, Dad. Come on, you know?
Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Do more.
It's like, you know, you can miss that. So you take that emotion out and you're watching real development, right? Dad doesn't always see the progress, right? Dad doesn't always see the progress. Dad's looking at the next progression, you know, and dad doesn't always, not all dads, but just speaking in generalities, dad doesn't always understand the gulf between goals, right? That goal one is accomplished and goal two is over here, and all dad looks at is goal two, not understanding the importance of, hey, recognizing this hierarchy of steps in order to meet the goal. Coach does that.
Yeah.
Coach does that. Coach knows that little teeny progress today, right, leads to getting to the goal. Dad sees it. Oh man, you don't got it.
Yeah.
You don't got it. You don't want it bad enough. They wanted it better than you. Let's be careful.
Yeah.
Let's be careful. I tell kids all the time. I tell parents all the time. Nobody. Well, football's a little bit different, but in track and field anyway. Nobody gets a scholarship at 8. Nobody gets a scholarship at 8. Well, no. I'm telling you, I said, yeah. For every kid that was a superstar at 8 years old and made it to get a D1 scholarship when they were 17 years old, for every one of that, I can give you 50 that were great at 8 and never made it.
Yeah. Probably a lot more.
More than that.
Yeah. Hundreds probably. Yeah.
You know, so it's about this progression. It's about seeing it and recognize we're taking baby steps. It's hard though for a parent, right? It's hard for a kid. Everybody else is getting the medals. What's the end goal? And I think that's one of the greatest reasons that my son attained the level of success he had throughout high school. I used to tell him he would get the ribbons, he would get the gold medals. We say, hey, and whenever you got one, right? If you won a medal in week 1, and then in week 2 you won another medal, week 1 medal went out of sight. Because I didn't want this accumulation. And we just focusing on one at a time, and we build up, and now we got more medals than we can shake a stick at.
That makes sense,
right?
that style, because it just make sure that you stay hungry and keep working and don't rest on these other, just let go of that.
Hey, look at me. I've been winning since, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, you were good last week, yo.
Yeah.
And we celebrate. That's one of the things we would go, we would celebrate like crazy. If you go back and look at my Facebook post 24 hours and you go back and look back when Kyle was in, 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever, we would celebrate like crazy for 24 hours. Yo, did you check this? And writing, I write fairly well. So I would, write, next day,
Next day.
Next day.
Yeah.
We ain't with nothing today. Let's go. And that wasn't that. That's again that's part of the mentality that you need to take in. That ultimately leads to great performance.
Yeah. Celebrate your victories and move
Celebrate.
on.
Keep on moving.
Yeah.
Keep on
Absolutely.
moving. Keep
Yeah.
on moving. Yeah, man.
To round third here and close this out. Final question. You told me that most of the people that know who you and your son are know that he fell short recently of making what year is it right now? 2024?
2024.
So he could have potentially qualified for the Paris Olympic team. And my question for you is, as a father, since that's how you were viewing, what was that experience like for you to get that far and
So I'm
see
gonna be
him go through
totally
that?
transparent with you.
Please
Right?
do.
This would be total transparency. So that has been our goal, right? For since he was 13 years old, maybe even earlier than that, right? You want to be an Olympian because similarly to political offices in this country, once you attain that level, you're an Olympian the rest of your life.
Yeah.
No matter how well you do or what you do, whatever, you're an Olympian, right? So that's been the goal since 13, 12. Still is the goal, right? We attain things, we celebrate, that's the goal. In 2021, after COVID, Kyle is at the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon, and he's really a baby now, right? And doesn't really have a shot at making the team, right? But he's the only college guy that's there, da 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 da. So great fun success. After day one at the 2021 Olympic trials, Kyle's in second place. He's he commands the audience. I'll never forget. He commands the audience in the high jump, jumps 7 feet. The whole place is going crazy. And Lewis Johnson, one of the interviewers for USATF Sports or whatever, interviews him like, "Hey, so he's like got a shot." He doesn't make the team because he had an injury, right? A little injury. So it's fine. And at the end, he comes up, walks into the stand. We have it on video. I think I posted it. And he just hugs me and we go into this crazy embrace and, he's crying, I'm crying. It's like, hey, we could get there, right? So it's cool. He's good. Fast forward to 2024. Kyle's made 2 world teams. He's broken 2 collegiate records. He's been a second off of a world record. Got his own Wikipedia page. There's this expectation now that Kyle's going to make the team. He had an injury early on, but doing well. So get to Eugene, and we're in the 2024 Olympic trials, right? And everything on paper says he's going to make one of the spots, right? There's only 4 guys that had the qualifying number. He's one of them. He's got the top score in the U.S. in the decathlon. That's Kyle. Kyle's the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
We go through day 1, 100, high jump. He's in great shape after day 1, first place. He goes into the day 2 hurdles and discus, and we were kind of concerned about that, but he runs very, very well. He's in second place, and we're looking at the numbers. If you're a decathlon person, you look at the numbers. You don't, so
Yeah.
So we're looking like, hey, he's got 3 events left. If he does his minimal numbers, he's going to make the team. All you got to do is finish, right?
So it was wrapped up in your mind.
Wrapped up. If he does fairly well, the numbers we thinking, he's going to finish in second place. And if he has an outstanding day, he's going to win. He's going to be U.S. champion going into trials, going into Paris. So we're like, oh my God. So like, yo, hold chill. Listen, we got to finish this out. He gets to the pole vault. He's like, Pop, I'm ready to PR in this thing. Had been a weakness, really focused on it. He's ready to go, had some good numbers. Gets on the pole, first pole, in the warm-ups. Comes down, hurts himself. Freakish injury, right? There's a pad there and everything, and it's a little 6-inch by 8-inch space on the far left side of the mat. That's the only place that's not covered, right? I said, fate serendipitously executed, because the one place he couldn't fall,
He did.
he fell.
Yeah.
in the warm up. Messes his leg up, can't compete, and he's out. All he had to do was finish. He would have been on the team, right? So he doesn't make it. And I will tell you, I am 57 years old. I don't cuss. I'm not a cursor. No disrespect to anybody that is. I'm not a cursor. I don't curse. When I knew he was out, I have never felt such disappointment and anger that I felt that day. I talked to you about my dad and how I wanted the 19-year-old. What I felt there was worse than that. And I just started crying and cussing. I mean, I probably sounded like a private school kid trying to act like he belonged on the block, right?
Yeah,
because the words just coming out because I was so angry. I wanted to punch the world in the throat, and I'm like, why can't my guy catch a break? And it just went off. So it was the most, like I said, disappointed I can remember being in my life because we had tossed all our eggs in that basket. And without saying it, we thought we were there, right? We thought we were there before we were. And God, that's the greatest lesson. God, that's the greatest lesson, that nothing is done until it's done.
Yeah.
It's in sport particularly, and I think it leaks into life. Nothing is done until it's done. And we came out of that, and we've healed from that, and we're growing, and I think it's going to be the impetus for him to accomplish even greater things, because you just don't count your chickens until they're hatched, yo.
Yeah.
You just don't. Nothing's guaranteed in this thing, right? And because nothing's guaranteed, you know what? I got to leave myself open to experience everything, right? Frankie Beverly said joy and pain. That's what I got to leave myself open. I don't want to put myself in a position of not being able to experience the whatever, because I don't know where it could take me, right? I've experienced the highest of highs with him, the lowest of lows, and this was under that. And if we've experienced the lowest of lows, right, and this took us under that, God, we've experienced the highest of highs. What happens if we get? I can't wait, man. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So, we take that, and it's like, you know what? We learned that, and we experienced that, and it was for a reason. And you know what? We gonna keep running and see what the end's gonna be. We gonna keep running and see what the end's gonna be. We gonna find out what it is. And if he said to me, and it's been said before, he said, "Pop, I'm shooting for the moon. If I don't make it, I'll be a part of the stars anyway." That's his mentality. That's his mentality. And already he's locked in, focused, ready to go. It was very difficult for us to watch the games. We watched it in segments. We watched the event that he would have been a part of because he knows all the guys, right? And the guys were texting him back and forth and all that kind of thing. I had I had paid for flights for my wife and I, room for the opening ceremonies, and room for 2 nights where he would have competed on the 3rd and 4th, and I ate it because I couldn't go.
Oh damn! So you were going. Like you were going.
We was going, and we were going,
Yeah.
and they would have had to carry me off the floor in there. So I mean, I wasn't healed enough emotionally, right? I hadn't let the emotional cycle run its course yet. So it wouldn't have been the experience that I needed it to be. I wanted it to be. But that's all right. We see you in LA in 28.
Yeah. It sounds like
We see you in Brisbane in 32. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You got it on the calendar.
Oh, Doc,
Yeah, I hear you.
speak those things that are not as though they were. That's the
hear ya.
speaking into existence piece, right?
Absolutely.
So, and you know what? At the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, we all good. We all good. So that's it. But that experience, gut punch, Mike Tyson, right to the solar plexus.
Yeah. Since I've never been there, I can't even relate in any form or fashion. You know, like
That's
nothing.
well, you know what? You take what your biggest disappointment
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Like what's, you know what I mean?
You take your biggest well, see here, and some people say, well, that's just sport. That's what people that aren't at the highest level don't understand. It's not just sport anymore. It's life. That's his life. That's his craft. It's not his God, but that's his life. That's his craft. That's what he does. The same way that people garner satisfaction by inventing something as a mechanical engineer, or coming up with the proper argument to represent a client. That's how he feels about his training, and that's how he feels about his execution. That's surgical for him. And we didn't get to wake the patient up and say, hey, you're gonna be all right. We're still that person ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Job not finished yet.
yeah, not finished yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Your worst day is your worst day. It's all relative. So I get what you're
That's
saying.
it.
I still can't even, just because, like, I guess as a, former athlete,
Right.
and trying to picture myself at the pinnacle of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like falling short, like
Yeah.
like Tom Brady on the goal line. You know what I mean? It's like that big on the Super Bowl, or Russell Wilson
that's what it
throwing
was.
a pick six.
That's exactly
you
what
know
it
what I
was.
mean? Like that level of
And
of love.
and that is what we glean, right, to help us to understand, what, the universe isn't picking on you, right? Because it's easy to get to that point. Why does this happen to me? Why does this go? Nobody else got it. No, it's not you. What's the end goal?
Yeah.
What's the end goal? Why do you do this, Kyle? Kyle says, I do this to be the best in the world, and I do this because I want other black kids to do the decathlon. That's your, all the more reason to come back from this, right?
Yeah.
All the more reason to put your stuff out there like that, and then to say, hey, I tripped up, but here I come again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it, man.
The someone I heard say before, it's not why me, it's why not me.
Why not me? There's a poem that was, I'm embarrassed that I don't know the author's name, but it was, it first came to the fore not publicly, but on a mainstream level in the movie Akilah and the Bee. Kiki Palmer, Kiki Palmer plays this. She wins the spelling bee, and they go through that poem, and it's why not me? Why who says I can't? And we've shared that with Kyle over the years, right? And I never forget, we had an interview with Channel 6 or one of the news stations back when he was like 13, 14. He was getting ready to represent the team or whatever. And it's like, he wants to be, I said it on TV. Why not him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not him? And what's come out of that it's just been awesome. So good stuff, man. So
Everything.
yeah, man.
Mr. Garland, Keith, I appreciate you so much for coming out and
Bless you,
sharing
man.
your journey. And,
Bless you, man. Appreciate you, man. Yes,
the
sir.
support that
Yes,
you
sir.
and the love that you have for your son. And I
Yeah.
think you're, an inspiration to me, and hopefully an inspiration to the community of men in general, black men specifically, but all men, women too.
Appreciate the
Everyone.
exposure, man. Listen, I will ask you, just as a favor, to any of your listeners, just remember him, Kyle Garland, last name Garland, like the stuff you wrap around the Christmas tree. Whatever, where you are spiritually, prayers, positive energy, good vibes, send them his way. We want all of that. We feel all of that. And we think at the end of the day, that's what's going to take us to the highest of highs, or over the highest of highs. So we appreciate you for that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, sir. And best of luck to you
Appreciate
and
you, man.
Kyle in the upcoming Olympics.
Yes, sir. But this year, World Championship. So indoor World Championships. We make the team. We'll know if we made the team in March. If we make the team, second week of March, we'll be in China. And then outdoor championships, we'll know we made the team in July. We make the team September, we'll be in Tokyo, Japan.
Okay.
So
Big things coming.
yes, sir.
So best of luck to him in Worlds and enjoy yourself watching as a father.
Appreciate you, bro.
Mr. Garland.
Appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was awesome. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to The Awakened Avoidant. We hope our convo has provided you with insight, inspiration, and healing energy. As you go about your week, let's continue to work together to heal ourselves and our community. Stay safe and continue to spread healing vibes wherever you go. Catch a new episode Wednesday weekly on all platforms.
Strawberry vinaigrette in my fridge. Made it from scratch, that's just what my life is. Picking my face and